Cybertron has fallen.
Somewhere out there in the sky, a giant metallic globe called Cybertron holds power and resources that seem like a distant dream for Earthlings like us. It is a treasure trove of resources, a hotbed of technology, and a civilization that evolved over eons. I think it is nothing short of magic that such a place exists in the first place, and yet it is all science. Now, you must be wondering which god thought of creating this giant tech planet. How did he even manage to build something of this calibre? And what role does he have in the new world he has birthed? Don't worry, we heard you. The very outset, I must mention that in spite of multiple variations, some of the basic features remain pretty much the same. So brace yourself as we dive into the legendary history of the planet, travel through its mind-blowing geography, know about its marvelous culture, and sprinkle this endeavor with some awesome facts. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Primus, the creator god, birth of a new world. The story begins when the one separated into two deities, named Unicron and Primus, respectively, thus sealing their fates in an entanglement that would last a lifetime. Their story reminds me of Cain and Abel. Here, Unicron lives to become the fallen entity and the harbinger of chaos, while Primus is left with no choice but to be the ultimate defense against all disruption and disorder. In spite of his immense power and potential, Primus isn't infallible. This wise and powerful creator has been betrayed not just by mere mortal, but by one of his early creations as well. In fact, the endless civil war amongst his children, the Transformers, has left his grand scheme far from perfect. As for Cybertron, it already existed way before their creation, and would naturally be the battleground where the two forces would clash. But it was only after Unicron's defeat at the hands of the 13 that he shed his physical form, became one with the planetary core. Primus and Cybertron now stand for each other, their existence linked by an act of profound love and unfaltering duty. You kill one, the other dies.
Cybertron's natural power source, Energon, flowed in abundance.
Cybertron, a technological labyrinth, home to the Transformers. Cybertron is a shiny metallic globular planet where high-tech cities sprout out a vast metallic plain, occasionally interspersed with neon-lit fissures. Everything you see around is almost invariably made of metal, towering buildings and spiraling mountains. Here, metal is the soil, the rock, and the very essence that constitutes Cybertron, while technology forms the core, the fuel and the power source that keeps the light alive. It's as if the planet is a giant mega gadget consisting of multiple smaller gadgets, a hotspot of futuristic technology. It is pretty obvious that numerous epic wars have been fought to gain control over the resource-enriched planet. The Transformers franchise has seen some pretty grueling battles across the different continuity, and each story sort of adds a new color to Cybertron's specificity. On the surface of the planet, you'll find his creation rising as space patrol in their quest to defend the galaxy. As you reach deeper into the crevices, you'll meet Vector Sigma, a megacomputer. This is probably the most crucial part of the entire planet, as it not only serves as the gateway for certain Transformers to access his power, but also functions as the internal mainframe, serving as a conduit for Primus's power. You'll come across the Matrix. It is very sacred to the Autobot religion, which relies on the Matrix for spirituality, prophecy, and even determining their leader. Prophecies of an impending war could be found in the Holy Covenant of Primus, a data book containing numerous data tracks. A room with a gigantic head of Primus on the wall lies at the center of Cybertron. Here, Primus is said to be sleeping while the Keeper watches over. Then there is the chamber containing the last Autobot. At the core of each Transformer life, there exists a spark, which is an electrically charged massive positron, formed from the supernatural substance known as rarefied Energon. Each spark is a small remnant of Primus's essence, and collectively, they form his life force, the Allspark.
Birthed the first Transformers, known as the Prime.
Birth of the Cybertronian, inhabitant of a new planet. After merging with the core, Primus used the Allspark to populate the planet in a span of just 3 days. Thus, the world witnessed the birth of the Cybertronian, who were fated to clash amongst themselves before the Great Cataclysm destroyed a big chunk of the primitive civilization. So who exactly are these Cybertronians? To put it simply, they are a species inhabiting the planet, Cybertron, who had their essences transferred into robotic bodies called the Space Transformer. To us human, they appear to be aliens from a distant world. We look at the Transformers with amazed gazes as they shapeshift into vehicles, weapons, machines, animals, or even other robotic forms. In this technological paradise, But don't let your idea of machines color your judgment. If you think these are heartless, cold pieces of metallic junk, you cannot be more wrong. Cybertronians do have a heart and soul where pulses spark at a unique frequency to make the mechanical body frame move. That makes us think, are they truly that different from us? When a transformer dies, the spark acts like the human soul, lingering behind before transcending into the afterlife. But sparks cannot exist outside the body, so every transformer has developed a spark chamber to contain their life. In fact, a lot of Cybertronian reproduction involves the generation of a new spark, which can then be implanted into a suitable receptacle to give life to a transformer. The hard-coded design schematics in a newborn transformer are basically the genetic code, which determines its appearance and function. History of the planet. The Great Cataclysm, as hell broke loose when a rogue, bloated, dying red sun passing near Cybertron hurtled a bunch of asteroids towards the defenseless planet. The blast triggered a sort of nuclear winter on the planet, while the dying star gravitated towards Cybertron's own sun. The insane amount of solar flares it generated was enough to kill the Cybertronians with deadly radiation. Prima, the first Cybertronian and leader of the 13, tried to save some of them, but fate had something else in store for her. Never was Prima heard of again. The Quintessent invasion, alien invasion, especially from the Quintessent, were pretty common after the Cataclysm. These were the rogue creations of Quintus Prime. Amazed by the technological advancement of the Quintessent, the Cybertronians across the planet grew from being feuding tribal warbands to an advanced, space-faring civilization overnight. The Quintessents were basically colonizing the planet at this point, consolidating their power by expanding their power base and imposing stricter laws on the citizens. They set up kangaroo courts and even went to the extent of claiming that the Quintessents were the almighty creators of the Cybertron. Naturally, the Cybertrons rose in rebellion, which forced the exploitive Quintessent out of the planet. What they were left behind was an impressive infrastructure of spaceship and the blueprints for space bridge technology. For the next 800,000 Earth years, the planet would witness bounty and progress. The Golden Age. Thus, the Golden Age was ushered in, where the planet rose in stature to be a gigantic superpower, colonizing distant worlds and emerging as a tech giant. But it wasn't long before the colonization project ended, and it was rather abrupt. It turns out a ship had fallen into the limbo of the Rust Plague, a pandemic that corrupted anything and everything made of metal. In a desperate move to protect Cybertron and its colony, Sentinel Prime commanded the destruction of all space bridges, which did stop the plague from spreading, but it also cut the planet from its colony. By the end of the Golden Era, two important Cybertronians emerged. First, we have Orion Pax, a mere clerk to the Icon Hall of Records, and second, there is Megatronus, a fierce gladiator from Chaon's fighting pits. Megatronus sought to bring about a change in society, and this made him pretty popular. He even caught the eyes of Orion Pax. These two crucial Cybertronians were destined to change the planet's future. Megatron now demanded to be named the next Prime. When the Autobot High Council rejected him due to his aggression, Orion delivered a speech advocating world peace. Impressed, the council named him Optimus Prime. Megatron was absolutely enraged, and thus he went on to form the Decepticons with Soundwave's aid. Optimus, on the other hand, brought together Cybertron's military forces and called them the Autobots. This marked the beginning of the Great War, where opposing forces of violence and peace would battle it out for Cybertron's future. The Great War. What started as a mere conflict in the council chamber that day marked the birth of an intense rivalry that stretched across 4 million Earth years. By the end of it, the Cybertronian race ran the risk of extinction. Absolutely lethal weapons like the Cybonic Plague and Megatron, Tox N, were unleashed during the war. It was a complete metallic bloodbath, with Megatron crushing Bumblebee's voice box, Arachnid interrogating RC, and Tailgate simply dying. Things were getting really out of hand, and a grave threat looms overhead. The Great Exodus. Cybertron eventually turned uninhabitable. The Dark Energon had entered the war zone, and the Cybertronians had to take refuge in the stars. With this mass exodus, the planet began to regenerate itself. Not all hope was lost, it seems. It was the same time that Primus gifted Optimus Prime with the Matrix. Also, to protect the Allspark from falling into the wrong hands, that of Megatron, it was sent off to a distant sector. Restoration. The Decepticons managed to reconstruct the Omega Lock on the Nemesis, but before it could be activated, the ship was seized by the Autobots. They used the limited cyber matter to revive Cybertron's core, which made the planet habitable once again. But we know by now that without the Allspark, Cybertron could no longer generate new life. Seems like we are stuck again. But Unicron was eventually defeated, and thanks to Optimus Prime's ultimate sacrifice, the Allspark was restored to the core of the planet. In a dramatic turn of events, the Autobots gazed on as the sparks flew out of the well. Restoration aftermath. Some 3 to 5 years since the entire planet was rebooted by the Omega Lock, and the Cybertronians thrived in their restored habitat, they even established a government, which held the rivalry between the Autobots and the Decepticons accountable for all the damage that was done to Cybertron. Punishment awaited them. While the Decepticons were kind of cast out, the Autobots' rank in their social hierarchy declined drastically. This guy Ratchet is clearly pissed at the whole scene, so in order to silence him, he is tasked with hunting down war criminals. The archives of the war were maintained and statues of major figures were installed in the city. What's more, a bounty was placed upon Bumblebee for abusing the space bridge in his journey to Earth, and the High Council wasn't letting him off easy. In order to investigate the crash of the Alchemore, Jazz was sent, and he returned with the raging hot news of Bumblebee being on Earth. Fracture and Drift were delegated to get him. There was even one time when Megatronus stole the Allspark and planned to merge it with the tech antidote, the Anti-Spark, as a part of his revenge on Unicron. All thanks to the efforts of a resurrected Optimus Prime, the Allspark was restored to its rightful place, that is, the Cybertron. Coming back to the main story, the prisoners were recaptured, the Alchemore was restored, and Optimus Prime set a course for Cybertron to confront the new council. He even contacted some of his old friends during his flight before returning to Earth in a smaller ship to help Bumblebee. Moons of Cybertron. 2 moons, one big and one small, circle around the planet, gracing the skies with beauty and grace, mostly seen either at night or in the afternoon. Only one of the moons emits light of its own. The 2 moons, Luna 1 and Luna 2, are also referred to as Moonbase 1 and 2, respectively. Different features of the moons exist across different continuity. Once, Soundwave assigned Arachnid to one of the moons, where she drained Energon from her Insecticon army. We aren't very sure of what happened to the moons after the destruction and restoration of Cybertron, but it is generally assumed that the moons are still standing. It was in the Cybertron series that the planet is known to have lost its moon. Primus decided to use these giant balls as flails to beat down an Omega Lock-powered Starscream. In Transformers universe, Cybertron has 4 moons, unlike Earth, which has only 1 moon called Luna. Size of the planet, a giant metallic globe. Different continuities show different sizes of the planet. According to Marvel Comics, it is around 120,000 kilometers in diameter, similar to the size of Saturn. In another continuity, the diameter is reduced by 1/20th, placing it at only 6,300 kilometers. From being Saturn-sized in the dark of the moon to being moon-sized in the last night, Cybertron's actual dimensions remain quite a puzzle to truly grasp. In the G1 cartoon, Unicron is massive enough to eat Cybertron. Put them all together, and Earth would look like a mere pebble to Unicron. In the film series, imagine such a huge metallic globe darting towards the Earth. You and I will be pulp before we know it. It really surprises me that Cybertron was much smaller than Earth in all the previous incarnations. You know, there is actually this theory that says that the Quintessa infection led to the planet's partial collapse. But honestly, I think it was just to make the size seem convenient to the plot. Cities in Cybertron. Even though the technological utopia on Cybertron sounds perfect, Cybertronian culture has seen both good and bad days. It was once under the throes of a corrupt and tyrannical government, but the Great War changed the entire course of planetary history. Historically, Cybertron was organized into city-states, and the most significant one happens to be Iacon City. Bordering Iacon and Vars, we find the city-state of Tarn. Bordering Iacon and Polyhex, we have the region housing the Thunderhead Pass. Cities like Helix, Polyhex, Praxis, and Tigerpax show the brilliance of tech infrastructure and urban planning at a global level. A philosophical haven, Nova Chrono, forms the hub of theoretical research facility. But these cities have been at the forefront of destruction as well. Famous for being home to the scientific mind, the Crystal City, for instance, is known to be destroyed in every continuity it features in. Some of the other significant locations on Cybertron and various continuities include the Well of All Sparks, the Cybertronian Pit, the Dark Mount, the Hall of Heroes, the Plasma Energy Chamber, and so on. the Rust Sea. So, I really love how the planet has an area of unstable planetary matter that is called the Rust Sea, located along the planet's equatorial belt. This region stretches all the way from Tyrex to Polyhex, a state of constant molecular flux, makes it a literal sea of rust. When you think of it, this whole concept challenges our existing notions that are limited by our earthly existence. Because we live on the blue planet, we think that it is only water, which constitutes a sea. Kudos to the creators of the series for even thinking of something like this in the first place. Speaking of interesting stuff, while we're at it, let's count down to 5 fun facts about the planet that are sure to blow your mind.
Our tragic war has ravaged Cybertron.
Fun facts about Cybertron. Number 5. You may think that the name Cybertron was innovated by the Transformers series, but it was used by Marvel Comics way before. In September 1968, the issue 48 of the original X-Men title was released, and it is here that we first meet a computer named Computro, who generated a race of robots named the Cybertron. Number 4. Cybertron as a planet first appears in Dark of the Moon, where the planet has a beehive-like structure. In the novelization for Dark of the Moon, Sentinel Prime was unsuccessful in activating the control pillar that are used to summon Cybertron to Earth. As a result, Megatron and Optimus Prime successfully defeated him, leaving the planet unharmed. The duo entered into a truce with Megatron, where they planned to return to Cybertron in order to restore it. Number 3. Fans love to see the home planets of these giant machines, but Cybertron was given the least screen time in car robot anime, where most of the action takes place on Earth. Number 2. Cybertron has found its way to pop culture, featuring in one of the verses of the song Boom Boom Pow by the Black Eyed Peas. Number 1. The gashed moon of Cybertron, which is often shown during the course of Beast Machine, is actually inspired by one side of a modern sculpture by Arnaldo Pomodoro, found in the Vatican City's courtyard of the Pinecone. It's a pretty popular piece called The Sphere Within Sphere. Marvelous verdict. Cybertron is not just a planet. It is the epitome of sacrifice and commitment by a god that is always struggling to bring harmony to its stunning creation. It reeks of a history that is very similar to human civilization, aiming for the stars, faltering along the journey, and always standing up stronger. Amidst all that feud amongst creations that are fundamentally similar in essence, there exists a kind of unfaltering fealty and a love for the homeland. These tech bots have emerged as a whole new kind of species, which are no different from what we understand as living beings. On the planet, there's drama, there's action, there's a blend of fun and seriousness, and there are some really cool storylines across the continuity. Overall, it's an amazing franchise with a massive fan following that stands among the greatest of all time. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.